For today's Cyber CEO episode,
I really should have done this years ago. I can't imagine doing it the conventional way. I'm glad I did. 𝗙𝗲𝗱𝗶 and I have grown together. She's in more control of my calendar. She's always reminding me of appointments that I always forget about. She reminded me about this call, which I forgot about again. I can't see myself going back to not having my Cyberbacker. It's very valuable to me to have her. I don't know what I would do without her.
welcome to Cyber CEO, wherein we talk about how our Cyberbackers helped our Cyber CEOs take their businesses to the next level. Cyber CEO is powered by Cyberbacker, the world's leading provider of admin support services from anywhere in the world to anyone in the world. Please visit our website www.cyberbacker.com for more details. Another awesome day here at Cyberbacker. My name is Jello. We're back with another episode of Cyber CEO. And of course, we have a very special guest on the show. Andre, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me again.
Now, we're very excited to have you back. What we wanted to do was just talk more, of course, about your experience with Cyberbacker and how everything is going. So, first question, how long have you been been partnered with Cyberbacker?
That's a good question. I don't remember exactly, but it's been more than a year. Probably about a year and a half now.
Okay. So
somewhere around there.
Now, was this your first time to work with someone virtual with Cyberbacker, or did you work with other companies before?
It was my first time. I mean, obviously being in the business I'm in, I would get requests all the time for VAs. Mm-hmm. And I was actually kind of tired of getting all those emails. I would unsubscribe from them, but I would still get them. And I turned to Cyberbacker on the recommendation of somebody who I know who's also Cyberbacker.
Okay, so someone referred you to Cyberbacker. I hope you heard great things about us. Now, since you now have experience working with Cyberbacker for a year and a half now, for you, what do you think? What is virtual leverage in your own words, Andre?
I mean, listen, it's like, it's the next best thing to having someone right next to you, right? Obviously, you know, someone in my position or anyone else who is in the business of brokerage, or they have a small business, right? And hiring and training somebody is time consuming. It does take a lot of time. It's also there's also a lot of cost involved in that. And obviously one of the things that Cyberbacker does is that they're able to reasonably vet that prospect for you. And so that you can really cut down on a lot of time and energy and money in training somebody. And if they don't work out, you got to fire them, and then you got to rehire somebody else and start the process all over again. So it's time consuming, you know, and I feel like Cyberbacker really has kind of, you know, made that way more efficient, made that process way more efficient.
Because again, if you try and even find the perfect assistant, for example, you're going to be looking for an assistant, let's say in-house or for the office. That's really going to take some time, because you have to post the ads, find the people, schedule the interviews, go through the interviews, and choose the right candidate too. And that right there already takes a lot of time, right?
Yeah, time that I don't have. So, you know, listen, I really should have done this years ago, but again, I didn't. I'm glad I did. And I can't imagine doing it the conventional way.
There we go. Now, can you share with me more about your Cyberbacker though? What are the tasks that you needed help with? That's why you partnered with Cyberbacker. And what do you ask her to do for you in the business?
Anything that I don't want to do, basically.
So a lot of admin then, I'm assuming.
Right, correct. There's a lot of admin work. I would say that what I've realized is that it's a development, mm-hmm. Like it's a process, you know. 𝗙𝗲𝗱𝗶 and I have grown together. You know, she's figured me out a lot. You know, I figured her out some. You know, but then again, I'm a man. I'm simple. I'm much easier to figure out, right? So yeah, like it's a process, and I feel like we've grown together.
There we go. Growing together. I think that's very important in a partnership like this because you're working with someone virtual. Now, talking about that partnership, how did you create such a successful partnership with someone who's virtual? How did you, let's say, bond, not really bond, but build on the relationship that you have working with someone who's virtual?
Well, one of the things I used to do that her and I used to do is that she'd be on the phone with me whenever I made my lead generation calls, right? And that kind of, I mean, we did that for a little while. There's a lot of things that we've tried, that, we know what works, we know what doesn't work, but you don't know unless you try, right? So I think that actually got her used to me, kind of seeing what it is that my expectations were, right? If you're familiar with the 80-20 rule, 20% of the business drags it at 80% along, right? I want to focus on my 20%. So 𝗙𝗲𝗯 carries that 80%, right? So that's kind of how we work together, and again, it's a thing where, like I said, it's growing. So she, even now at this point, she's in more control of my calendar, right? She's always reminding me of appointments that I always forget about, right? She reminded me about this call, which I forgot about again, right? Right? Not that I don't love you guys, but I got a lot of things going on, so it's not always something that's top of mind for me.
There we go. But again, just someone who backs you up, who's always there to remind you of the things that you need to do, the things that you have to do. I think that also saves out a lot of your thinking time again as a business owner, because there are a lot of things to be done every day on a daily basis. Sometimes 24 hours isn't enough, right? And for any business person. Now, you have someone to remind you of the things that you have to do. I think that right there really also even, let's say, doubles your time even sometimes, right?
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Now, what I'd like to know more about is because one of the things that we love talking about here in the podcast, of course, is about the results, the great results that you're having with your Cyberbacker. Sharing those success stories with our audiences could be very educational for them as well. Now, can you give us maybe one of your biggest wins ever since you started working with Cyberbacker? Maybe you have any data or any metrics that you can share with us today.
Biggest wins. I mean, really knowing that even though I'm away, whether I'm away from my desk, away from my office, even if I go on vacation, right? I know that there are certain things that are always going to get done. There's eyes on certain items, right? Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know. I can't give you an exact metric, but what I do know is that I can't see myself going back to not having my Cyberbacker, or my assistant, in this case is 𝗙𝗲𝗯, who happens to be a Cyberbacker. I don't foresee myself, like, the value is very valuable to me to have her, right? For a lot of reasons. So much so, one of my colleagues also signed up, because for us, doing commercial business is different than doing residential business. There's a lot less paperwork, and there's also a lot more downtime for the admin, right? But when it's time to have one, I need for her to be there. That's the important thing.
There we go. And again, just you've been working for a year and a half now, and imagine the success that you've already had. Imagine what you can do in, let's say, 2 years' time or 3 years' time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like I said, it's growth. It's growing. It's constantly growing. So right. So it's not just like a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process.
Absolutely agree with you there. Now, one last thing, Andre. For sure, once we have this online, 𝗙𝗲𝗯's going to be able to listen and watch this. So I was wondering, do you have any special messages or a quick shout out you'd like to give out to your rockstar Cyberbacker?
Yeah, I love her. I don't know what I would do without her.
There we go. Now, we are very, very excited to see where this partnership grows to, of course, for the next couple of years. And again, Andre, thank you very much for being on the show. Coming back, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. Anytime. You have a good day.
Thank you for listening to our daily dose of Cyber CEO. Stay tuned to know more about how Cyberbacker creates a difference in this digital time and age. You can visit our website www.cyberbacker.com and follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Spotify.